Shanghai is one of the most exciting cities on Earth. Every epoch looks for a great metropolis, a place where the future has already arrived. In the 20th century, New York was dubbed the global capital. But as we head into the 21st century, the world's eyes turn to Shanghai, making it a dramatic destination for our ultimate journey. Downtown Shanghai, an army has gathered. Outside their noodle snack bar every morning, the team of waitresses begin their daily workout, readying themselves for a 12-hour shift. They march to their workplace. The discipline of the working masses is said to be the strength of this fast-growing nation. But it's only part of the story. Today, more and more of Shanghai's 16 million people are seeking independence and individuality, breaking from the regulations of China's rigid history. Our host, 27-year-old Wang Zhilai, prefers to be called Linda. She's made good money in real estate and has an American boyfriend. She lives the life many youth in China yearn for.
This is Nanjing Lu, the main shopping street and tourist centre here in Shanghai. Most of the tourists who visit the city come here to do their shopping. Every day there are over 10,000 visitors. But because I was born in Shanghai, I tend to do my shopping in other parts of town.
Shopping here is more than just fun, the pleasure of consumption. It is an expression of prosperity. Even babies have to wear designer gear. The wrong sunglasses or jeans have become measures of success or failure. A favorite hangout, the Bund, a promenade on the banks of the river Wusong. For the elite, the place to be seen is on the Three on the Bund, the newest, hippest and most expensive temple of dining and relaxation in the city. For a traditional Chinese foot massage here, you have to pay the equivalent of an average week's wage.
This is a traditional Chinese foot massage. It's part of a system known as reflexology, which is a special massage method that's based around the principle that the body's nerves all converge in the feet. In Shanghai, it is extremely popular at the moment.
In contrast to a shrine of peace and tranquility, the streets outside buzz with a never-ending cacophony. Shanghai is also a giant building and development site. Between 1998 and 2002, 95 million square meters of city were redeveloped. In the last 5 years, 2,000 skyscrapers have been built. Such is the demand that construction sites are hives of activity 24 hours a day. Strolling on the Bund, you can marvel at the new business district, Pudong, on the far river bank. This is development at its extreme and home to some of the world's funkiest structures.
I am here in Pudong. In the last couple of years, with real estate exploding in the city, Pudong has gone through some dramatic changes. When I was a child, this whole area was covered in paddy fields. Today, it's home to one of the world's highest skyscrapers, the Jinmao Tower.
From paddy fields to foreign investment, 10,000 companies have set up in the area. The city is connected by a new tunnel, a dramatic computer-controlled roller coaster ride, delivering the commuters to work. This is progress that the whole country seeks to follow. Every guest entering the South Beauty is met with a warm reception. But you'd better have your wallets at the ready. Traditional drop-in cook shops have been replaced by hyper-modern restaurants where the new upper class can spend a small fortune on gourmet delights. After decades of communist-controlled economy, Shanghai revels in surplus once again. Not everybody has come out on top, but the winners of this new economical policy wine and dine in style. Food abounds in every conceivable color. The art of preparation here taken to new heights. Every dish an edible sculpture. Lying so close to the mouth of the Yangtze River, seafood often takes pride of place in Shanghai's increasingly cosmopolitan cuisine. Amongst the exotic offerings, Beijing duck is the only thing still recognizable to the older generation of the city. It's an ongoing revolution. Class warfare is a thing of the past, and yet the people continue to fight for more money and success. Financial reward has become the ideology of the new generation. Today, Europeans, Americans, and Chinese from Hong Kong hold most of the decision-making powers in the future of Shanghai. The greatest financial success seems to flow into foreign pockets. But despite all the changes, food is still at the heart of Chinese culture, helping the old meet with the new.
Join us on Saturday on the
Shanghai is a city that never sleeps. As darkness descends, the high street facades glitter like a giant fairground, colourful, proud, lively and extravagant. A sparkling shopper's paradise which is on 24-hour call. And if that weren't enough, there's the partying to deal with.
Shanghai's nightlife is great. There's always something going on. Come with me.
Shanghai is not only richer and more vibrant than the rest of the country, it's also more permissive. Traditional values have been lost to the self-confidence that high income brings. New yuppies place less importance on political parties and family values. One man illustrating changing values is Linda's best friend Coco. In the city clubs, he sings jazz. He's also openly gay. Both these things would have caused him huge problems in the past. But today, Coco is a celebrated star of the city.
A foggy day in Shanghai town.
Shanghai is dramatic by day, but by night it shines in an even greater glory. The building boom shows no sign of slowing, with investors from all over the world financing still more development. It's thought that Shanghai could overtake Hong Kong as a financial capital in just 2 decades. It's a city that symbolizes the economic reforms of the 1980s, when communism began to lose its influence. And now, it's not just business that's booming, it's pleasure as well, provided you're wealthy enough to enjoy it. A party is guaranteed every night, which will last well beyond sunrise. At dawn, the great Wusong comes to life. The river remains a vital traffic route for food and other resources to supply the shops and restaurants of the city. Equally great freight ships leave with goods destined for foreign lands. Boat trips in kitsch mock tradition craft run from first light, packed with tourists eager to admire the famous skyline. Most guests end up in Shanghai's most famous tea house, but it's an illusion of a bygone age and stands out from its ultra-modern backdrop. In the cloth market, Coco and Linda are on an early shop. The star is picking out new accessories for his evening wear, some of which are less than conservative. To the modern-thinking China, he is accepted, even encouraged. For the older generation, it challenges the values they've grown to know, but seem to enjoy his exuberant visit into their lives. Something here takes Coco's eye, and he haggles over the price. But after a successful shop, it's time to eat. As always, an entourage follows his movements with a mixture of awe and bemusement. A game of cards in the street is open to passers-by. Coco and Linda join in. These men are of another age, a time of threatening slogans, stamping down on any challenge to communist authority. To them, the decadence of the youth in the face of capitalism must be hard to comprehend. They're friendly and tolerant of the changes, but their lives are a world apart from the new generation. They could barely afford a drink in one of Coco's usual haunts. The new Chinese middle class dream of an ever-growing social rise. Shanghai is a city of contrast, and the extremes of culture may never even meet. Time zones separate their lives. As clubbers start to tire of a night on the town, Buddhists make their way to temple to pray. Zhang Lai Kai visits the temple a couple of times a week. He is one of thousands of Buddhists in the city. The exact number is unknown. Religion remains taboo, and its numbers are still hidden from communist days. For most of the 20th century, communism was the state religion in China. Ancient temples were destroyed and religious activity banned. But as communism began to decay, temples are being regenerated. It's no longer a sin to pray. Zhang chats with one of the Buddhist nuns, discussing the changes in faith, and pays homage, admiring, as always, the resplendent statues. For Zhang, the temple is an oasis of stillness within a noisy city, and this is vital to his craft.
The temple is a very inspiring place. Its surroundings have a serene and calm atmosphere, and so I often come here to write. It's like the environment actually helps to improve my calligraphy. And Chinese calligraphy is really an art form, so it's important that one gets it absolutely right.
That's the purpose of Zhang's visit, to seek stillness and inspiration. He's one of the city's most respected calligraphers. Unlike in Europe, where calligraphy is seen as a form of writing, in China, it's an acknowledged art, steeped in thousands of years of tradition.
Calligraphy has a very long history in China, stretching back almost 5,000 years. It began mainly with written prophecies, and then many different forms followed, such as songs and poems. It's a very deep part of Chinese culture, but it's also attracted interest from people all over the world.
The artist's unique stamp, his signature adding the finishing touch. On his way to his studio, Zhang pays a visit to the older suburb of Lishuilu. Once a prosperous business district, it remains one of the few parts of the original city to escape the bulldozers. Known as Chinatown, its fate lies with the city's government and stands in the unyielding face of development.
Here in the old town, there's still a few residential houses that are over 100 years old. So this area gives you a good impression of how the city would have once looked. In most other quarters in the city, all the old structures have been pulled down and replaced by modern skyscrapers.
Local life is spent largely on the streets. It might give the tourists some good pictures, but this is a way of life born out of necessity. The old houses are often cramped and narrow, with one family living in a single room. Not surprisingly, many household activities spill out onto the streets. At noon, the neighbors converge on street kitchens to eat tang mian, a midday noodle dish. Mian means egg noodles, a traditional fare that's been on the menu for hundreds of years and is still prepared by hand in a rather acrobatic fashion. Guidebooks describe the area as an essential part of the Chinese experience, but the reality is that these people wouldn't be here if they could help it. For many, the skyscrapers remain out of reach. Sanitation here relies on ma tongs, wooden chamber pots that are collected every day to be emptied. There is nowhere to dry clothes other than in the street. Without running water, shaving must take place there as well. For more than 60 years, this man has cut hair and shaved clients, even working on eyelids and ears and massaging the scalp. He says it's not a difficult job, but it's one that will never make him rich. He rarely earns the equivalent of $10 a week. Zhang Likai's studio lies nearby. Compared to the street hairdresser, he's a rich man. Growing popularity in the art of calligraphy and souvenir-seeking tourists have pushed up the market value of his artwork, making him a tidy living. The masters of this art regularly confer, trading information on brushstrokes, parchments, inks, and business. There are about 5,000 different signs in the artist's vocabularies, each one a masterpiece, fetching up to $1,000. They complement each other on their techniques. It seems Zhang Likai has the highest respect in his work. China remains a land of contrast. Just 1 hour outside the city is the Shenong, a tributary of the great river Yangtze, and home to the Tuzhar people. Steeped in tradition, the people of the region still cling to ancient customs and beliefs. Shamanism, Taoism and witchcraft were all part of a tradition which is slowly dying out as the Tuzhar become assimilated by the never-ending city growth. They're still living as their ancestors did, earning their money by shipping and towing trade boats up the river. It's hard work. The Shenong is often too shallow even for their canoes. They sing traditional working songs to keep them on the move. Despite the foreign influences, locals have maintained their identity, as Wang Qing explains.
Nearly all of the people living in this area are Tuzhar. We have lived here for over 1,000 years. The wooden boats that you can see have always been a part of our culture. 1,000 years ago, they were probably the only traffic on these waters. Just like our ancestors in the past, we still use these boats to transport our agricultural goods up the river to the markets.
Today is not a good one. It's noon and still no customers, no tourists seeking a ride, or a trader looking to make a shipment. There are too many days like these. Many of the men have to supplement their incomes by working as farmhands.
That's the village of Yejiba behind me. There are around 200 inhabitants here, and most of them work as farmers. They're a pretty self-sufficient community and produce most of their own goods, mainly corn, potatoes, wheat, thick beans, and some other vegetables.
These people are poor, but low income doesn't always lead to low morale. Wai Lu has for decades pulled heavy-laden boats up the Shenong. Happy in his work, he's risen to manager and has a team of towmen beneath him. With a poor electrical supply, Wai Lu's wife stir-fries over a coal oven. They've been promised a more steady electrical current in the coming year. Plans are afoot to demolish their home and create a new one, complete with power and running water. Times are changing in China. Wang Qing is a typical example of a modern Tuzhar. Born here but studying in the city, she tries to visit home occasionally, where over a cup of tea, very different lifestyles can be discussed.
I've worked along this river for 41 years now. It's hard work. When I was 16, I pulled a boat for the very first time, and I've been doing it ever since.
This house has stood unchanged for 150 years. It is one of the last in the village, a dying breed itself, destined to be demolished in a few months. Like so much of Tuzhar life, condemned to the history books. As the Shenong widens and flows more rapidly, she leaves the little boats behind. Known as the Three Canyons, this is one of the most beautiful landscapes in China. The winding Yangtze tributaries feeding lush green mountain forests. A fantastic stop-off for travelers to drift downriver and take in the view. Today, luxury liners replace wooden canoes. The spectacular Yangtze is the third longest river in the world, 6,300 kilometers, draining 1.8 million square kilometers, and one of the most important traffic routes in China. Huge water markings foretell of a dramatic change that will alter this ancient waterway forever. The river lies close to the biggest building site in the world, the hungry wheels of industry that now seek to tap into the power of the Yangtze. Ghost towns line its banks. A flood is coming that will remove any trace that they were ever here. New settlements have sprung up already to house the displaced. Waterfront apartments filled as soon as they can be erected. Following in the tidal wave of Shanghai's development, China prepares to welcome the largest concrete structure in the world, 660 kilometers long. At the center of the biggest building site on the planet, the province of Yicheng. More than 10,000 men work around the clock to create the biggest dam in history. Already 130 million cubic meters of earth and stone have been moved, and 30 million meters of concrete consumed. When complete, the dam will stand 185 meters high and 2.3 kilometers long. It will produce more electricity than any hydroelectric plant before it. Looking like ants, an army of engineers monitor the progress. The construction of this man-made monster has been a subject of considerable controversy. The effects it will have on the environment are poorly known, and there are those critics who fear for the safety of the structure. The Chinese National Congress, usually renowned for its unanimity, was divided by the issue, and delegates were dissuaded from challenging the project. Zhao Guangjing is vice president of the damming project, in charge of managing investors' funds, some $20 to $30 billion.
Flood control, it is a key project for preventing floods for the downstream plains. And also it can provide huge electricity to the development of the economy.
The Three Canyon Dam has become a symbol of changing China. The holy grail of power supply, the dam will generate more electricity than 18 nuclear power plants, or the equivalent of burning 50 million tons of coal per year. It comes down to a question of lesser evils. This project could greatly reduce the consumption of fossil fuels, although the cost is yet to be seen. One good side is that the dam will prevent annual flooding that has killed thousands of people in previous years. The dam will also improve the standard of living of local people by opening a route for 10,000-ton cargo ships to enter directly into the heart of the country. The locks charged with this task are vast, raising enormous cargo ships by 113 meters, although the change takes 3 hours.
The total number of the resettled is over 1 million, and of course we spend a lot of money. About 45% of the total cost are spent on the resettlement. We give also compensation and also lots of other good policies, preferential policies to them to ensure they have a better life.
Archive footage tells another chapter of the dam's history: government-enforced migrations. Critics say that many people will be affected by the project, with some figures reaching well over 2 million. The ghost towns on the banks of the Yangtze are a graphic reminder that nothing can stand in the way of progress. The buildings will be flattened and then drowned. Complete cities will be erased from the maps. Resettlement is still in full swing. The city of Fengdu, lying 400 kilometers directly alongside the dam, is under constant evacuation, with large areas already demolished. All 50,000 residents will be relocated. This city has survived for 2,000 years, but within 5 years, every trace of it will be gone forever. Precious metals are picked out from the rubble by hand before the rest is lost. This man, like so many others, has already been displaced to the other side of the river. Nothing but ruins remain where his house once stood. A few families still await their turn. Islands of houses in a sea of demolition. These women, the last vestiges of a community, are awaiting translocation. When the decree arrives, they will have to go. They don't have any choice in the matter. Their new apartments will be allotted to them. The streets of Fengdu ring with an eerie silence, a far cry from the crowded streets of Shanghai. Despite the high-tech lifestyles of Shanghai's elite, the bicycle maintains a strong presence in the city. More than 9 million flood the streets. It's one of the best ways to beat the traffic. The fastest growing market for cars faces a future in traffic jams, and already the city seems to choke in smog. Tranquility can be found within. A traditional Chinese tea ceremony, a comfort from the fumes of a city that never sleeps. A good deal of time is invested in the production of a cup of oolong tea. The preparation equally as important as the drinking. Miss Zhu was a famous singer in her youth. She only has one photo of that time, a treasured reminder of the golden years before the Communist Revolution.
In that photo, you can see me aged 20. That was in 1965, before the Cultural Revolution got underway. All photographs taken after that point were destroyed.
Among the wealthy women at the table, Linda, a close friend of Miss Zhu. Both women have very different biographies, but both enjoy a high standard of living in modern Shanghai. Women in Shanghai face many of the challenges that women the world over face. How to balance a career and family with having fun. But it's not been an easy ride, especially for the older generation. Miss Zhu, Zhu Maizhuan, now 60, comes from a distinguished family tree. Enjoying high social status, she spent her youth performing for the Chinese opera. But the Cultural Revolution of 1966 was to silence a generation. Mao's government associated the arts with the evils of capitalism, and they were quickly outlawed. Like so many, Miss Zhu was condemned for the next 10 years to labor as a factory worker. She was saved through the marriage to a Hong Kong resident, which allowed her to leave Shanghai. Today, under a new liberal freedom, she is able to return, although her songs are now just enjoyed in a private arena. Traditional Chinese opera is extremely stylized, the music shaped by strict rules that must be closely obeyed.
When we were younger, we were all performing. I was a Chinese opera singer. But the Cultural Revolution changed all that, and we had to quit. Nowadays, we meet privately, so we can enjoy a good song together.
In enlightened times, opera once again lightens the city. At one time, Shanghai was called the Paris of the East. In the 30s, the city was controlled by mafia gangs. An adrenaline-fueled world of drugs, prostitution and gambling made the city a playground for the world's rich and famous. This was swinging Shanghai, and its heart was the glorious temple of pleasure, the Paramount. In the lobby, there are still photos of old stars, their names long since forgotten. It maintains the same level of chic today, with a proud manager orchestrating a powerful display of indulgence. While Mr. Lee's brother works as a comedian in Europe, he services a wealthy part of the history of entertainment.
The 1930s in this city was a very glamorous time, and today it's still remembered that way. But the revolution changed everything. The new government took control of the Paramount and ended an era.
The Queen of the Ball has arrived. Tang Wai Hong, meaning rose-colored. She's 78 years old, but still the life and soul of a party, adding regal grace every night to the Paramount. She's a member of China's richest elite, but with communism she was dethroned and forced to clean latrines for a living. Today, she sparkles with the paramount once more. But for Tang Wai-hong, the lessons of the revolution are not forgotten.
The revolution changed our lives completely. Before that, our husbands made all the decisions in the household. You couldn't go out unless your husband took you. After the revolution, it changed. The Communist Party helped to free women in China.
It might have given her freedom from male domination, but it took everything else away. Today, the subject is largely taboo. The Paris of the East has risen again, and at least within the Paramount, the old glory lives on. Miss Zhu, the opera singer, another of the theatre's crowning glories. Today, women of their generation can celebrate with nostalgic pleasure those happy days. After wearing out one dance partner, Miss Zhu needs to choose another. With money, she can have her pick. The professional dancers can be hired for the evening. It seems that choosing one is half the fun.
I like this one. I'll take him.
Apart from professional dancers, the Paramount, unlike its heyday, has little interest for the young. Shanghai doesn't look back. It looks to the future. The youth is dancing to a different beat just a few blocks away. Their voice, modern dance music mixed by foreign DJs. Miss Zhu, Coco, Zhang Li Kai and Linda are all part of the unique rhythms of a city of the future. A world capital in the making. The ultimate city. Shanghai.